What's up YouTube? Ace Poker back again for another video, but first we need to get some Chipotle. Chipotle is hands down my favorite food, my best way to fuel up before a big session. We're going back to Pennsylvania today, but not to Wind Creek. We've got $800 with us. We're going to Philly live. We've been there before. There's a Phillies game going on, so if they charge me $30 for parking, I'm automatically going to be tilted. It's NFL Sunday, about to drive an hour there. Hope you guys appreciate the grind. For those that don't know, if you're new here, I'm 22. I'm from New Jersey. Absolutely love poker. Think you can tell that by now. Let's see if we can book 2 wins in a row. We had a big win last session at Wind Creek. If you guys have not seen that, go check it out. But without further ado, let's get right into some cards. Alright, welcome back guys. Per usual, we are off to one single 1-2 hand before 2-5. How could I decline some extra poker? We are in the big blind and we look down at pocket aces. Let's go. There's an open by the cutoff to $10. I am not familiar at all with 1-2 or 1-3. I never play. I literally have maybe logged 6 hands of 1-2 and 1-3 total. When I first started playing, I jumped right into 2-5. That might sound crazy to you guys, but it's the truth. I decided to 3-bet this one up from the big blind to $40, a little bit big, gets back to him, and he decides to make the call. Let's go. Let's see a flop of King 10-8 with 2 spades, a very wet and connected board, so I do not want to let this one check, but I down bet really small to $20. This is something I've been working on, and I think a lot of people make mistakes on. You want to bet really small with your really good hands to start, to just reel them in. So, looks like plans are going the right way when he makes the call. Let's see the turn. The turn comes a 10 of clubs. Obviously not the best card in the deck, but not the worst. And now I decide to bet $20 again. Hopefully my opponent does something crazy, and he does just that. He raises to $60. I look over at his stack. He only has about another $60. No decision to be made here. I put him all in. He pretty quickly makes the call. Hopefully he just has a flush draw. No 10. The river comes an absolute massive brick. I show aces, we win, let's go. We win about $150 here in the first hand. I think we played this amazing. Let me know what you guys think. We get called 4-2-5 literally while we are sitting in this seat. So I tell the table I'm not hitting and running. I'm going to 2-5, like, enjoy it. Take $150 off the table. But let's go. We got some cushion to head into 2-5, and let's continue to run this up. We take our chip stack of about $1,000 over to the short-handed 2-5 game. Let's see if we can dominate the short-handed streets. I don't necessarily like playing short-handed. What do you guys think about this one? But let's jump into it. Not going to shy away from action. Let's see if we can win. Actually, in this hand, we are a whopping 3-handed, and I'm in the small blind, and I look down at King 10 offsuit. Like I said, no short-handed expert, but think this is pretty darn good for 3-handed, so I open it up to 15 and just the big blind calls. We see a flop of 7-8-2 rainbow. I decide to c-bet here for $15 and quickly get raised to $40. So yeah, I don't even know how to range people in 3-handed. Can I even say that this board should hit him better? I have no idea. Not going to battle this one out, going to fold this one. And on to the next. Gonna have to keep in mind in later streets that this player might be better and might have to check to him a little bit more often, but let's see how it goes. Now we are back to 4-handed. I look down at ace 10 offsuit, another good hand in short-handed play. I raise it up to $15, and would this be an ace poker vlog if we don't get 3-bet right away? The big blind makes it $60, and again, I don't know how to range people short-handed. I'm just going to wait to go to battle with a little bit more stronger hands. I would definitely make the call if this was ace 10 suited. I don't like playing short-handed at all, but let's see if we can turn a profit here before the main game. Alright, time for the first interesting hand of the night. We pick up King Queen offsuit in the small blind, decide to bump this up to $15, and the same player who raised us earlier decides to make the call. We see an amazing board of Queen 6-7 rainbow. I think about checking here to let my opponent just bluff, or just think that I didn't hit anything, but he was aggressive earlier, so I want to continue here. I bet $15 and he makes the call. The turn looks pretty good as it comes to 3 of clubs, bringing in a club flush draw, and like I said, I want to continue to put my foot on the gas. I bet $25, and again, my opponent makes the call, so it looks like he's got something. Maybe weighted towards more having a draw here because he did not raise me, so don't really put him having a strong hand here. Pretty much any board can be scary in short-handed play because your opponent can have any 2, but let's see the river and evaluate it then. It comes semi-clean with the 10, so no flush draw comes in, but the most obvious straight draw in 8-9 gets there. Again, I just want to bet big, targeting some kind of 1-pair hand. If he's got a queen, he's definitely going to call. Maybe he'll call down with 2nd pair because what am I really representing here besides a queen and only a queen? So I go pretty big. I bet $80. My opponent thinks about it for a little while and decides to flick in the call. I show my king queen pretty confidently and he shows queen 9, so he did have a queen. We could have got more on both streets, but obviously we can't see what cards he has. I'm happy for the little value that we got, and let's continue to run this up before the main game. Alright, so as you see the camera angle switch here, we get moved to the main game finally, so no more short-handed play. And we look down at king 10 offsuit in the cutoff. It folds to us, so we just want to always raise here if it folds to us, as we basically just have the button and the blinds to get through. So I make it $20 and only the small blind defends and makes the call. We see a great flop for our range in ace 6-7 rainbow, so we'll have all the strong aces and just all the strong hands here, and the small blind shouldn't really have any ace or any strong hand. So when he checks to me, the same thing I want to do with my really strong hands here, I down bet to $15. Like I did with my aces earlier, you're going to see me do that with a lot of my strong hands now, so it only makes sense that I'm going to do it with my absolute weak hands when I have nothing as well. Got to balance out the play, and as expected, the small blind makes the call. When I down bet really small here, he can have a lot of stuff. Gut shot straight draws, maybe a bottom pair of 6s, maybe even has pocket 2s or pocket 3s that just don't believe me so far, so let's see the turn. The turn comes a really interesting card in the ace of spades because now it's less likely that I should have the ace, less likely that he has an ace, yet I still can and should and will have all the really strong hands here, so when he checks to me, it's time to see if he's really got anything at all. We bump up the price to $45. The reason I went a little bit big here is because if he has anything, we will hear about it now. Even a call is very suspicious on this board. I don't really think any of the gut shots should be calling unless he specifically has an open-ended. Don't see him calling here. So when the small blind does make the call here, I'm very suspicious. Let's see if we can hit a king or a 10 or most likely just check back any river. Now the river comes an even more interesting card in the 7 of clubs. So if my opponent even just hung on with a 7, he's not going to fold, obviously unless I go massive. But when he checks to me, I think that king high really has enough showdown here to check back. All of his missed straight draws, his gut shot straight draws, and now if you think about it and look at the board, even his pocket 2s and pocket 3s just got counterfeit. So really, if he does not have an ace, if he does not have a 7, I'm going to win. There's no sense in bluffing here. I check back, and good thing I checked back because my opponent shows ace 9 offsuit. Definitely a weird hand to just flat call out of the small blind. I don't really like that play, but I'm happy I was able to think this through, and the run out allowed me to not have to bluff at this. So we only lose a little bit of money there, but I do think I thought about this hand really well, and it shows a lot of improvement on my end. So I'm really happy with the result here. Time for the first premium. Pocket kings. Have not seen the Cowboys in a while. The red variety. The same opponent from the last hand opens it up in early position to $20, and I'm in middle position and decide to 3-bet this one up to $55. Time to get some of that money that we bluffed off back. Gets back to him and he makes the call. If you guys could guess what the flop is, boom, ace right on the flop. And as you see from the last hand, he'll call an ace 9 offsuit here, so he definitely could have an ace, but we do want to c-bet here, so we down c-bet to $40, and my opponent makes the call. Oh my goodness, until the turn comes a king. Let's go. Now I hope he has an ace, but when he checks it to me again for the second time, we don't want to go massive. There are now 2 flush draws out there, so I did think about checking back, but there are 2 flush draws out there. Have to bet here. I make it $55, and my opponent snap folds. So I have no idea what my opponent could have here, where he calls the flop and then just snap folds the turn. Does not mean he has a flush draw, does not mean he has an ace. I guess he just really doesn't believe me, so we'll have to put that in the back of our mind for later. Happy that we turned this out of kings. Unfortunately, we couldn't get some more money, but let's keep going. For the next hand, we look down at the beautiful ace queen of diamonds in early position. I raise it up to $20 and get 2 callers. We see another really good flop in queen 5-7 with 2 spades. Heads up, I might check this, but with 2 opponents, there's a lot of draws and a lot of hands to be had here, so I c-bet for $40 and just the small blind calls. We see quite possibly one of the worst cards in the deck on the turn, the 10 of spades, and before I even get to think about what I'm going to do here on the turn, my opponent snap bets $125. I look over at my opponent and his stack, and he has about $3,000 in his stack. He looks very calm, cool, and collected. It appears as if he's sun running today. And I know this is going to be a very weird line here, but you have to think about what your opponent is going to do on future streets. Obviously, if this is the river, we call, but you have to think, okay, we're going to call $125 here. The pot is going to be roughly $400, so if he fires big on the river, which I'm assuming he will, that's going to be a massive bet. He might even overbet and put me all in. He could just have the naked ace of spades with a variable of a bunch of different cards. He could have some draws, yes. But I just want to lean sometimes on the exploitative line. I decide to just fold here. It might sound crazy to you guys, but I don't know. I play how I play, and I just come on here to show you guys how I play. I'm open to all criticism and feedback. I know theoretically that this is probably a call. This line that he took just doesn't really make sense to me. It does seem a little bluffy, but I'm not really sure. With how instantaneously he bet the turn when the flush came in, it did seem like he was using some reverse psychology, like he wants to make it known that he's using this as like, I'm repping the flush, but I just think he really does have it here. I don't know. I'm curious to see what you guys think about this, and especially someone that's sitting with so much money in front of them. I've played with this guy before. He's more on the tighter side. I don't know. But you do have to keep in mind that if you're going to play a certain play style, so I'm very aware that I'm giving off a weak tone, a weak play style here. I'm going to keep that in mind for future streets and maybe call a bit lighter in the future when I have stronger hands. And just a spoiler alert, I do later in the video, so stay tuned to find out, and it may have helped me here. We'll see. I'll have you guys decide later in the video. What a better time to save us now than pocket kings again. I open it up in early position now to $25. The same exact player from the last hand in the cutoff decides to make the call. Hopefully to him it looks like I'm steaming. Let's see a flop here. It comes really good in 10-5-2 rainbow. Like I said, when there's flush draws or straight draws or any type of draws out there, I'll c-bet, but on a board like this, I definitely want to check it over to my opponent, who seems like he's a little bit aggressive, and it works. He c-bets for $25, nothing to do here besides make the call. And of course, the ace of diamonds on the turn. One of the worst cards in the deck, but how many aces is he going to have here besides specifically ace 10? I mean, he could have ace queen, ace jack, any ace really that c-bet, but it's worse in the fact that he'll probably think that I have the ace here, so it might kill my action if he did have a 10, but once again, we check it over to him. And now my opponent bets $25 once again. Okay. I don't see any merit to anything other than just calling here, so I decided to put in the $25. And the river is as clean as it gets, the 4 of clubs. And I know I've played this hand super weird, just check calling, and I want to put my opponent in the blender here. I know I played this one very weird, but I'm going to lead out here. I'm going to lead out here for $80. I think it's going to look very weird, but I hope he doesn't put me on the ace. I bet $80. He snap calls, shows ace 10. Yep, had my opponent in awesome shape on the flop. Destined to win a big one. If the 10 was the highest card on the board there, wouldn't see him folding any runouts, but just spikes 1 of 5 outs. And it looks like this opponent is owning us for now. Spoiler alert, we may get him back. Let's see if we can make some money back with our good old ace-king offsuit here. The same opponent from one of the first hands who raised me when we were playing short-handed opens it up to $15. I 3-bet it to $55, and he makes the call. The flop goes check, and we turn a king, so we know we have the best hand here, but the problem is it's going to be pretty obvious that that card hits us. He knows that. Like I said, he's a good player. He just bets out for $15. No reason to do anything but just call the $15, and the river makes it even worse. It's just complete overkill. It's the ace. If he didn't put us on the king, he sure as hell is going to put us on the ace. He now checks. I have to go for some value. I make it $60, and like I thought, he snap folds, so nice to get a little bit back here, and we're on to the next. Time for the last hand of the night and the most interesting hand of the night. Time for our revenge. We look down at pocket aces. So we've had aces twice and kings twice. Yes, looks like the poker gods are on our side today. There's a straddle on, so we're playing 2, 5, 10. I'm in early position. I open it up to $35, and just our nemesis, the opponent who got us in the ace queen hand, and then the hand after that, makes the call. So we're going heads up to a flop here, which is a little scary but pretty good in queen jack 5. Obviously a board where we have to go for some value, and like I've been stating, I'm going to down bet here. I make it $25. It seems that my opponents will do some weird things when I do this, and he makes the call. We see not a very favorable turn in the 9 of spades, because if he had king 10, that now makes a straight. Nonetheless, I want to go for some value still, so I decide to bet out for $65. My opponent thinks it over for a little while and decides to raise to $165. Like I said, alarm bells are now going off because this does complete the most obvious straight draw, as well as some weird 2 pairs like jack 9 or queen 9. But we have aces. We are not going to shy away from this one. We're just going to have to hold on for dear life. I think about it for a really long time and make the call. As I stated earlier, you have to be aware if you're going to play a certain way. For instance, if you're going to c-bet every single time, you're going to have to be aware that your opponents aren't going to believe you as much, so you'll have to bluff less. I was aware that I made a very big fold earlier. Obviously, he didn't know I had ace queen, but it was pretty obvious that I was going to play on the tighter, weaker side, so maybe he's preying on that a little bit here. We are a bit relieved when we see a really good card on the river, the jack of spades. So now if my opponent had a weird 2 pair that did not include a jack, we are now going to beat that, but we do still lose to king 10. Hopefully this is a scare card if he has king 10 and he'll check back, but nothing to do here besides check. My opponent snap checks it back, so I just showed the aces, and he instant mucks and then decides to rack up right away. So it looks like he might have been a little bit frustrated. Maybe he had specifically queen 9, but I don't feel all that bad as he's racking up about $3,000. So it seems like he won on the day, and that's going to wrap up the session. Let's head to the outro. Alright, y'all, just finished up, walking to the car now. Nice little session, 3.5 hours. The game was not good, it was breaking, so we decided to just get a slice of pizza, cash out. We wound up winning $285 over 3.5 hours of play. Can't complain. Obviously, we drove an hour to get here, going to drive an hour home, so it's not that much poker, but I love this. I love making content for you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Have a great day.